Breathing.
Welcome to the idea of where we explore the noise and nuance and everything in between. And Mike,
And I'm Bassey.
and this is a space where culture, creativity, and conversation collide.
Definitely not tech.
Definitely, technology is not colliding right now. While we're here, let's do some troubleshooting. Bossy, can you turn your iPad into landscape?
I can.
Well, welcome, folks. As it is sometimes just experiencing some technical difficulty.
What is happening?
We're experiencing some technical difficulties, but it's all good. As long as you can hear us, as long as you can see us, then we are okay. We can adjust all this in
Maybe
editing.
they don't need to see. You think that might be the problem?
No, it's fine. The image was fine. It was just like mine is landscape and yours is portrait,
Yeah,
which
I
is
can't.
that's all right. Don't worry. That's another problem for another time.
And
What's
then
going on? What you been up to?
nothing. No. Well, actually, really nothing. Dropped Alawe off on Friday and have had nothing to do since then.
Okay, okay. How did the drop off go? Like, was it what you expected? Is it, what do you think?
Um, it was fine. Uh, I was just thinking, like, people keep acting like he went to prison or something. And I'm not emotional about it at all.
Mm,
Like, I know where he's going, I know what he's going there to do. The only thing that I'm concerned, do you remember, last time I think I saw I don't know if it was the last time I saw you, but when the boys went to Maryland soccer camp,
yeah, yeah, I remember that.
did I do you remember telling you how nervous Alawi was and how it
Yeah,
affected, like, his whole he just gets in his head and suddenly he's never seen a soccer ball before in his life.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was worried about that because it was a new environment, and I was just afraid he was gonna get into his own head
Hmm.
and and then not be able to perform or function, and I didn't want that to you know, I didn't want that to set the precedent for him so that he never got right. Or you know what I mean? Like I didn't want him to, like, get in his head, have other people get in his head. And that was my main worry, that
Yeah,
he was gonna be isolated and nervous and unable to, like, communicate that. But the first couple of days, definitely that. But by yesterday was the third day, he was like, all right, okay, I think I got it. Then it takes the assistant coach actually said to him, like, "No, I believe in you." And that's
hmm,
all Alawe needs.
yeah, yeah,
That's all he needs. He
for
doesn't
sure.
want people to feel like he's a liability and he can get in
Mm,
his head that way. So, yeah, that was the only thing I was worried about. Everything else, I mean, he's a good student. He's been away from home before. He's not a delinquent. I'm not worried about drugs and alcohol or anything like that. So,
hmm.
it is what it is. How about you?
Um, the drop off went well. So I think we've talked about it before, but if there are any new listeners, both of our sons are off to college playing college soccer, being student athletes. And so Bossy dropped her son off on Friday. I dropped my son off on Thursday. And this was definitely a different transition because there was so much hesitancy, if that's the right word, hesitation heading into the drop off. My son transferred from one college to another college, from UNCW to Catholic. And the analogy that finally got me to feel where he was coming from was when I kind of connected it to a core experience that I had as a freshman in college. When I was a freshman in college, I pledged a fraternity. I pledged Alpha my freshman year. I was 17 years old, 18 years old, and it was the
But, okay, I
most
have to interrupt you for 1 second. 1
okay.
second. Do you know how to do the Ape Walk?
I do. I do. I'm learning. Well, it's definitely not something we did back then, but I've learned since then to do the ape walk.
The one with Dow's effects?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Obsessed. I was up until 5 in the morning on TikTok watching people do that. I know how to do it. I'm not gonna do it. but I know how to do it. Sorry, go ahead. Continue,
And
continue.
you know what's crazy that you bring that up is that I have talked about the Ape Walk with some of the older brothers, like folks that are my age, and it is not on the 2 and the 4, right?
Mhm.
It's on the upbeat. It's on the same beat that Biggie raps on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So like
yeah.
I papa,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Oh my god, that's astute observation.
it
Yeah.
is so not normal for old niggas from the 90s to step, party hop, whatever, on the upbeat. And so it took me, I swear to you, it took me about 8 months to figure it out. Because my body is not equipped to step on the upbeat anyway. And
That is
that
true.
it frustrated me to the point where like I almost went into a deep depression because I've never not been able to like see something step related and do it instantly and
Yeah.
do it to perfection. So I was like, am I getting old? Is this just a reflection of my inability to connect with the youth? I don't understand. And that is how alphas party walk now. It's the Ape Walk. And so
Yeah.
I would go to places and not feel like myself because I couldn't do it. Anyway, thanks for
Sorry,
bringing
go
that up. You just
sorry.
ruined you like I'm still learning. Like I got it, but it just doesn't come natural to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I get it. Like I could write the moves down. I just can't execute it the way that I need to. Anyway, so I was saying, yeah, so for oh yeah, so I was thinking of the foundational experience that I had that connected to what he was going through. Bossy, are you there? Your
Yeah.
picture went away.
Yeah. Can you see me?
Oh, there you go. Now it's back.
Okay.
And he was so apprehensive about transitioning. He didn't want to do it. He was considering like not playing soccer anymore. And at each step of the way, I was like I'm not going to be out there sacrificing my body if you don't want to do it. But I was like, I don't get that sense from you that you want to quit soccer. And then it made me think. I pledged as a freshman. If I felt, whether it's accurate or not, but if I felt that my parents were pushing me to go to another school after I pledged Alpha and I met my line brothers, like my chapter brothers, gone on road trips, been all over the place through Alpha, and I felt like I was being forced to move, I would feel the exact same way he's feeling.
Mm.
And so once I kind of realized, what he was experiencing, it allowed me to talk to him about it differently and to just relate. Like, I get it, if to put it in, continue the analogy, if, I had to transfer schools and then someone said I had to go step at another school and I was step master at JMU and I had to go step at Catholic University, I'm like, get the fuck, I'm not doing that shit. So I get it. I get it. I get it. So once he recognized that soccer was still like his pride and joy, that he was passionate about it, the conversation just shifted to how do we make this transition? What are the chunks of time that we will use as benchmarks for this transition? All right, let's just do the first week. Let's see how you feel. Let's meet the team. Let's, after your first week of training, after your first exhibition, which is happening at this exact moment, and then we'll check in. And so far, it has been exactly what we thought it would be. He
Mm.
needed to be in a place where, like you said with Alawe, where the coaches believed in him and they told him that and they expressed, we think you're the best defender in this division. We feel that you can be a leader on this team. Um, and that had to be acknowledged for him. So the transition is still, it's still day by day. But I can tell when I talk to him that he sounds more like himself. He sounds happier, and that makes me happy. That makes me feel less at ease, and all of the angst and a lot of the anxiety that I've had this entire summer was centered on his transition into this new environment. So this weekend was a little emotional for me, man. It really was, because I was worried about him because I kept on thinking of, he's got to be hurting not being with his line brothers. Like
Mm.
that's like his LBs, like his people. he can't be there. Like, damn, I know that that's gotta hurt. And he wants to go back, and so all that stuff, like to visit. He wants to go back to visit, and so we'll see, we'll see. You know,
Yeah.
but he's got his classes, he's got his major. He changed his major as well, so it's almost like he's a sophomore. He has sophomore credits. He made the dean's list at Wilmington, so academically, like he's prepared. But it's just the other stuff, and I started to see him this summer as less as like my son and more like a young man. That was really, yeah, that was really this was a summer was a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie. This was a really, really crazy summer. We had some really serious conversations where it was like, I'm gonna allow you to talk to me like that because I know you're going through it. Otherwise, I might punch you dead in your mouth, but I'm gonna let it slide because you're feeling emotional. But that was my parenting lesson where I had to be like, okay, it's not about formality. It's not about respect. Like respect. He's not being disrespectful. He's hurting and
Mm,
he's sad and he's going through a really, really unimaginable transition that I've never had to experience.
yeah.
So I'm going to give you some grace. You can, but hey, you need to relax also.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
it's been a lot.
I as you were talking, I remembered, and I think I mentioned it last week, that I just felt like I hadn't prepared him for life really.
Hmm.
And it came to like I try and I mistake not mistakenly, but I felt all this like angst all of a sudden, like the days leading up to him leaving, where like I needed him to like get all these lessons like right now. Like, why aren't you packing? Why aren't you like I started getting like naggy because I
Yeah.
was feeling like, how do you not know that you're supposed to do this? Or where's your sense of that's my brother's thing when we drove him up there. He's like, he's got no sense of urgency. He walks slow. And I'm just like, that is
Nothing.
true. He's never aside from like running to class or whatever, there's never been a sense of like with you and I feel like our parents were like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Oh, okay, I gotta run. I gotta get in the car. I gotta," like that sense of like always on edge. And I purposely remove that from him because I remembered how stressed out like I was like as a kid, just constantly stressed out, constantly certain that at some point I was going to do something wrong and get in trouble. And so I didn't want him to have any of that. And I think that I traded that off by him not having like this sense of urgency. But beyond that, my brother who came with us
Hmm.
like 2 years ago, he was like, you need to give him a key to the house so that he's coming in the house and locking the door back and forth. And I was like, why? Like, because we all come through the garage. Like
Hmm.
we use a garage opener, we push a little code in and we get in the garage. Like I don't have a key to the house really. Like I just come in through the garage.
Hmm.
He has a key to his dorm room. And we were like, all right, lock it. And we were walking out. He doesn't know how to lock a door.
Mm.
And like as it sounds crazy, but he's
Yeah.
never had to lock a door
Lock a door.
before.
Right.
He knows
Right.
how to open the door because he knows how to use a key because one of the cars he uses has a key. But as far as like hearing the click and like all of that, he
No.
doesn't know how to do that. He
No
did not know how to
concept.
do that. And I was like, okay, like there are things that at this point, unless he's confronted by it, I don't know to teach that part of it. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things that I do know that I did fundamentally wrong. And I think I mentioned it before. I think like my sense of independence has sort of
Mm.
fucked up his sense of assistance, I guess, or like knowing when somebody needs help, or like, I mean, he does to an extent, like he's not going to sit there and watch you bleed out, but like he's going to wait for you to be like, can you help me with?
Mm.
He's not going to just like immediately jump in and like, oh, I got you. Like he doesn't, because I don't have that kind of like, you better come help me type attitude. I don't know. It
Right.
was I don't know what else he's going to run into that I haven't thought about preparing him for because I just there's been no reason to. Like even with the key thing, you we were latchkey kids. Our parents were working. We had to let ourselves in. Like
Right.
we didn't have garages when we're like there was just all these different things that I'm like, I just don't know. I know you're gonna need to know these things, but I have no idea how I was supposed to aside from like a couple of things, I didn't know how I was supposed to prepare you for this. And I also know that part of the difficulty, it's only been 3 days, but he's never had to work this hard in his life. Like two a days, like up in the morning at 7:15, or first practice at 7:15. He doesn't eat like on a schedule, so now he's got to make sure he eats, and he's a picky eater, but he's got to get the protein in. He's got to do da 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 da. And
Mhm.
so that was hard for him, where he's just like, it's like all day, two practices, two team meetings, fitness, recovery,
Stretching,
stretching.
activation, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, cold plunges, like all these things that in his mind, he's like dreamed of, "Ah, this is what I want," but he's never actually had to work this hard in his life, and I think that's good for him, though.
It is definitely good for him. Something that was a sobering recognition, I guess, a sobering acknowledgement as a parent is that we go from that's why the college process is so wild. And I've talked about this before on here, but that was my job for a good 10 years of my career was working with students and their families in transition from high school to college. And I remember just saying the most wild, uninformed shit to parents in the past because I didn't really know, no. But the part that is really sobering and that I don't think a lot of parents think of is right up until you drop them off in college, even those years, in high school when they're getting more independence and they're driving but you have a very specific understanding of where your kid is all the time, who they can be with, even if they're not telling you the truth. Like, oh, we went to the movies, but they really go to somebody's house. Like, you generally know they're in the same town where you are. You know who they might be with or whatever. And it's so simple, but our kids go from being in close proximity to us not having a single fucking clue who they're with or what they're learning by experience in that time. So an hour in someone else's apartment that might be 21 years old, they're going to see a refrigerator full of beer. They're going to see weed remnants on the table. They're going to see bongs and kegs and they're like so I don't know. I'm saying all this to say because I, like you, started to worry like, damn, did I prepare him for this? Like, is he gonna know what to do in this situation? And the answer is no. Like we did not prepare them for because there's just no way to preempt the natural learning that happens from just walking into a room and seeing people do drugs. Like you can't prepare your kid for like, you're gonna walk in and someone's gonna be high and passed out and you might not know if they're living or dying. And you're gonna have, like how do you how do you prepare someone for that? But we all know what the college environment is. The college environment is bedlam. It's insanity. There's no, the first weekend of school, I saw people, this is me 30 years ago, saw people pass out, literally on the sidewalk in their own vomit, shit that I didn't have a idea as to this is what people think is fun.
Yeah.
So when Ellington came back from his first year of school, after your kid sees those things and experience some of those things on their own, they come back different. Like they just come back with a different sense of exposure. And that's how Ellington came back while trying to figure out this transition to stay in this environment. And I feel like for him, at that time when he came home, soccer was something that tied him to his youth. And he didn't see a way of how that connected to who he was becoming. It only connected to who he was.
Mm.
And so that mixed with having to transfer and feeling like, even though we didn't make him transfer, in his mind, he processed that my parents are making me transfer. My parents are making me play soccer. My parents are making me do all these things when that's what I did when I was 12, but I'm a man now. I seen things, like that, it's
Wow.
just like all of that shit is like, I don't think any of us are prepared for how that environment changes us, like who we are as people. It changes you when I think when Ellington was going to college and in his mind, the college soccer player there was a template for what he thought that was, whether it was athletically, physically, morally, ethically, and to see all of that shit flip upside down when he would say like some of his friends were drinking beer, but some of his teammates were drinking beer before the game or
before the
after
game.
before the game, or they would be smoking after the game, or like people weren't taking shit as seriously. And you're
Yeah.
like, wait, my whole world of what the fuck I thought I was getting into is upside down. So it's a lot, man. It's a lot on them. It's a lot on them. And as much as it is on them, I think we're like byproducts of what they're experiencing, or an afterthought of what they're really going through.
It's interesting because it was me and my brother, my youngest brother, drove him up, and my sister met us there. She was driving from New York or from Jersey, and we all had different niche
Hmm.
advice. Like very random. Like my oldest brother, he saw him the night before, my oldest younger brother. And he was like, this happened to me and I ended up in the hospital. Don't do this very specific thing. My sister, my sister says, if you're at a party and you see people, too many people on like a porch or a
Yo,
deck or whatever,
that's
walk
real.
away. That thing is gonna collapse.
That's real. That's really good advice, though, for real, low key.
They all have this. My younger brother was like, if you see drunk white girls, you leave. You just don't. I don't care who your friend is. I don't care if you know one of them. You leave. Like,
Hmm.
and I was just like, all right, these are like, this is like, you can't open the door with the key, but there's others.
That's so real, though. Everybody has their own thing. And funny enough, I'm still tied into like news at JMU. And so this weekend, every year, was a balcony collapsed yesterday at a
Yep.
party because there were too many kids on it. But yeah, all that is so real. And we bring so much of our own fears, worries, experiences, and try to place it on our children. And they're gonna have they're gonna leave that first or second week of school. Alawe is gonna be able to then tell a rising senior in high school, like, yo, make sure you do this, don't do this. Like,
Yeah.
don't skip on the right side of the street because you never like he's gonna have his own thing,
Yeah.
his own learned lesson. And they may or may not be ours.
Yeah.
It's just so it is absolutely fascinating to me. I think that, when people talk about, we've talked about our boy Deontay Kyle and folks that have been talking about going and getting a trade, and college is not for everybody. I genuinely hate when people use that phrase, like college is not for everybody, because no shit, nothing's for everybody. But there's something about the college experience, and even if you don't graduate, even if it's just for a year or two,
Yeah.
to live in a
Yeah.
dorm away from home with not a whole lot to lose, right? Like, you could still make a mistake. You could still mess up pretty badly as an 18-year-old college freshman and not ruin your life. It'll be hard for sure. I think there's something so important about that I wish there was a something in the United States that like pushed that kind of experience.
Yeah.
What, even if it's not college, if it's trade school, maybe you just go for the first 6 months of a trade school, you go and you learn your trade in a dorm somewhere. Mm, I just think that's really important.
I've always said that even when I was in college, I was like, I could have come here for a year and then left because the experience for me was like being able to talk to people, being
Hmm.
able to, those late night dorm talks where somebody tells you the earth is flat and then you sit there and you debate about, debate on it for the rest of the night. You know what I mean? And like these are experiences that you can't that happen organically that you cannot facilitate outside of like a college campus dorm room, the people that you encounter, the ways in which you learn to accept different personalities and
Yes.
still figure out what your personality is within that. Like, who are you going to be? Like, what guy are you? All that is super important. And I think that the rise in anti intellectualism, a lot of it comes from people whose ideas aren't being challenged in the least, in the slightest. And I mean, who was it? Socrates or Plato who created not the modern debate, but like the
The the Socratic seminar. No.
Socratic method, is that
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
Where people like talk
Yeah. Yeah.
and their ideas are challenged and that is super important. I think that that is important to the survival of humans and the fact that a lot of that is being lost because of the internet, where people are, or not the internet, social media specifically, where people are in these bubbles that nobody can challenge anything that you say, or they're immediately cut off, or they're immediately, shouted down. And I think that's just something that I'm also concerned about, especially like with how different it is now. Do
Mhm.
people have the college students have the space to get things wrong in order to get them right later, when people are so keen on this idea that you must walk into every situation knowing all of the right things to do and say?
Mm,
Or if you don't, then that your rest of your life is fucked up because we remember that one time you said that word or what have you.
yeah. I still think that there are aspects of the college experience that have been the same for the past 100 years, right? Like there's aspects of college that are just never going to change. And it's because of the developmental, like the emotional and intellectual development of youth at that time. It's always going to be that. And I think that the addition of technology and AI and chat, and GPT and all that stuff, I don't think they're as let me take that back. I think it absolute all of those the social aspect, the technology and chat and AI and all that stuff. I think it has a tangential impact, but not as much as the human aspect of connection and personal and human development. I don't think it's that different, right? Because there's always going to be older people. There are always going to be people that have experienced something different than you. And, I'm thinking of one of Ellington's professors last year was probably a professor to, you know, people our age when we were in college, right? He's been a professor for 40 years and he still operates as a professor as if it was 1988. Like he's like, I don't believe in Canvas. I'm not doing anything on AI. Everything's still going to be on a handwritten syllabus, and I was like, dang, like you sound like my professor from 94. But there's still that. And there's a benefit to that, right? There's a grounding to that. But I do think that the major generational challenge, I think we're the ones that are more challenged by this than our kids and like the younger folks.
Right.
I think it's us that are, either afraid of the technology or weary of it or not feeling like things are going to be the same because of it. And I think, I just think it's learning on both sides for sure. And it's just becoming familiar with and figuring out like what this new reality is. And you've seen, I'm sure, like they've been talking about how Generation Z, is that what our kids are? Gen Z?
Gen Z, yeah, I think so.
How they're not prepared for the workforce and
In those teachers,
yeah, they talk about like the Gen Z stare and like all these things. And it's like Yeah, I'm sure that there was some boomers that said the same shit about us because we had the internet and, we wore our clothes too tight. Like whatever the fuck, like whatever, right? I
But you
just
don't think
think
it's different though? You don't think it's different?
I think it looks different. I think it sounds different, but at the core of behavior, I really don't think it's as different as it appears on the surface. I don't know.
I think it's different because it's not as contained. I think that I feel like we've talked about this before, but there was a time when it was just the one weird kid and you knew how to deal with the one weird kid.
Mhm.
Now, every one weird kid across the world has connections to each other and they somehow convince themselves that they're smarter or they're not weird and everybody else is the weird one. Why can't I wear a bra to teach kindergarten? Like, you know what I mean? Like and they've got 1,000 people like, yes, you should be able to wear whatever you want. You could wear a bikini and heels to teach the 7th grade. Absolutely. But you know what I'm saying? Like you
Right.
see something that you think, okay, there's no way in hell anybody thinks it's okay.
I'm gonna
And then
justify
the
this.
comments and everybody thinks it's okay. Everybody says, what it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if you do this. I'm like, no, it fucking matters. But that's the voice that's quieter because all of these random weirdos who don't know anything have all connected like Voltron, and now everybody has to deal with reversing their dumbasses. Sorry. Oh, the teacher thing yesterday. It's been pissing me off ever since.
I think that is one aspect of this new generation that is might be better than us and generations before. Is that they just their judgment, like a judgment itself is not a barrier. Whereas like I feel like Gen X is probably the most judgmental generation because we were raised by boomers who like invented judgment, but we elevated it with like this kind of self-righteous thing. And there being like this good and bad, right and wrong, black and white, because our options were so fewer. We only knew of, even just from a racial perspective, we knew black, white, Spanish,
That's right.
not even Hispanic. It was just Spanish. And then we would say Asian, maybe if we
You
got
say
lucky.
Chinese. Doesn't matter what.
Chinese, yeah,
Oh,
Asian and brown. Like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like the kids now, like they understand, even if they don't have the words for it, or they might not know like the technical terms, they're just so much. They've seen so much already. Like they've seen, you know, just the lightest level. They've seen a trans woman and trans man from when they were 5 and don't bat an eye to it. I'm 48 and I still see a trans woman. I'm like, I wonder what, and I'm like trying to figure shit out. And I'm like, what, and making it unnecessarily weird and complicated. And the kids are like, it's just like, it's not that deep, Dad. No. And I'm like, no, like, I just want, what I'm saying?
That's what I understand. No, I think on that level, absolutely. I think that they're being exposed to things that took us a while to adjust to. And I just don't mean I just in general, they have a wider level of exposure.
Yeah.
My concern is what my concern is my concern is the dumbasses running shit. I'm sorry, that's all I got. Because when I see something and I'm like, there's no way in fucking hell. There's no way. I saw this one yesterday where it was this kid and he was like, "Get ready with me for my first last day of school," because he's a senior this year. And he's like sitting there, he's doing his makeup, and you hear his mom in the background, like, "We're supposed to be out of the house at 7 o'clock. It's 7:30, and why didn't you wake up early to do this if you want to do that?" Like basically, like you can do your makeup, but why didn't you get up at 5 to do it, knowing that we had to be out of the house? Dude is just calmly like talking to the camera, mom's in the background. And I was like, all right, this is really, really what's that word? This is really what's that word? Oh my God. Inconsiderate. This is really inconsiderate. And I'm like, God, open the comments. Like, why is she yelling like that? She should give you the space to do it. I'm sitting here like, she's got other kids. She got to go to work. Like, what are you talking about? But it took me 10 minutes of scrolling before I got to somebody was like, this is really inconsiderate. Like, he could have done this in the car or he's made everybody late 'cause it took me 10 minutes to get to something like that.
Yeah.
Everybody else
Yeah.
was like, "What's the mom's problem?" Like, what?
That's crazy.
That's been on my mind. That and the Ape Walk have been on my mind for the last 3 days.
But you know what's funny is that you say, you were talking about a lot away with no urgency. I have not met a Gen Z that has any urgency. So it got me to thinking, like, because my son is the exact same, like, great student, when he's applying himself in certain ways, like he's doing amazing stuff, but there is no urgency. So then I started to think like, it's almost like nothing's universal, but it's almost universal that I don't know any young person that demonstrates their urgency the way we did. So it got me to thinking, maybe, there's so much more awareness of mental health struggles with this generation that where are they storing this urgency? It's gotta be there. It's gotta fucking be there. Cause it's just like that's human nature. If you have to leave at 10 and you don't wake up till 9:58, what happens with that emotion of like, damn, I'm late. Like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get to school? Where does that sensibility go? It's not just it can't just like vanish and then it's like, oh, like it's gotta go somewhere.
Yeah, I think it exists. I mean, I see it with E, like with the key thing. There was a moment of panic where it's like, and you could see it like wash over them. And I think it's there. It's just they don't express it the way that they don't express it the way that I think we think they should,
Yeah,
quote
for
unquote.
sure, for sure.
But it's definitely there. It's definitely there. They just hold. I mean, again, as much as like we've got all this mental health awareness, they still hold things. And I think they hold things even tighter than we did because of the pressure to have it all figured out. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, because again, you've got, whereas when we were growing up, there might have been two kids who had their entire life mapped and scripted, like two.
Mhm.
Now you see thousands and millions of kids who seem to have their life all figured out. Like, what do you do with that? Knowing that, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and I think there's an added layer, and I've been saying this for years to anybody that would listen, is that schools, right? I think schools play a part. Why is my mom calling? Like my mom calls me like in the middle of the day, like I don't have a job. Like I just waiting. Schools have a way of reinforcing different behaviors, right? I've always said that the traditional ways that schools operate for girls. They operate to enforce the many of the behaviors that are innate in young women, right? So whether it's organization, whether it's, note taking, and whether it's, taking care of people in a different way, being more observant, those are skill sets that are generally affiliated or assigned to young girls because of the way they are socialized, because of the way that we socialize girls in this country. A
I,
lot of the things that we're talking about when it comes to our boys, the things that they do well, the things that they succeed in are not acknowledged or reinforced by traditional learning environments. So I think on some level, I'll speak for myself, is like, I don't know what my son does well. You know what I mean? I know that he performs well, right? I know that the outcomes of what he does is usually excellent, right? Like whether it's school, whether it's soccer, whether it's, if he's involved in something and there's a product at the end, it usually turns out really, really strong. But how he got there and what role he takes in a group project, what are the conversations that he's having with himself about, okay, I can do this part. I don't want to do that part. Or, I'll be the one that takes the notes, or I can speak in front of a group really. I don't know. I
Right.
genuinely don't know, and this is from a parent that is at every school meeting, goes to everything, is there, blah, 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 but I just think it's that our school system has not acknowledged what boys contribute to a positive learning or whatever environment. We know very well what it looks like when a boy is disengaged and when they are not happy and when they, are experiencing these different things. So I think that that is definitely a part of what adds to the anxiety of sending your boy away to college because that's what college is. It's all about finding what you're good at, what you like to do, all of that.
That's interesting on a couple of points. It made me think of during his senior year, Alawi one day, I think the night before, he was like, "Can I go to school late tomorrow?" And I was like, "Why?" He's like, I need to miss first period." And my mind, I was like, "Oh, he didn't do his homework. He didn't da da da. He didn't da." And I was like, "Why? Why do you want to do that?" He's like, and he said, "Because I have a group project. I did all of the work. So I need them to sweat and think that I'm not going to show up so that they can do the work."
Wow, that's
Right?
crazy. That's
Right?
kinda dope though. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? So I was like, on a couple, I was like, first of all, I didn't know you were an evil villain. That was the first thing. Second, I didn't know that you would be the leader in a group project. I didn't know that. And then
Yes.
there's that. But then something else I've been thinking about while we were talking is I hate the fact that they want kids to walk in with a major. I
Mm,
hate that they want kids to declare a major. I feel like college should be 5 years. The
mhm,
first year, you're just taking all the classes and like, trying to figure out what it is that you're like, what you're into. The second year is when you start working on your major if you figured it out by then.
mhm,
But I do not like this idea that at 17, 18, you walk into a college declaring something, and then by the time you realize you don't want to do it and you have to redeclare, you've already missed out on X amount of things. Or you do the thing where you look and see, okay, what do I have the most credits in? All
yeah,
right,
yep,
that one. And that to me is like even that's just as bad, I think, because you're not engaged with anything. Hey, um, something that I'll always really get. Alawe has a media mind.
mhm,
Like, he will watch a show or a movie or whatever, and is able to, like, dissect it and be like, "This is what I like about it, this is what I don't like about it." He's got a very sophisticated sense of humor, like, his jokes, all that stuff. I was like, "You should do media, your arts."
mhm,
Like, you don't have to make a film or whatever, but you know what's good. You know there's certain parts of that that align with the things that I know that you're already into. And I'm always continuously surprised by how in depth he's able to go into why he likes a TV show or a movie. And I'll never get it. Like, one of his favorite movies is American Psycho. And I'm like, what?
like, "Are you
But he,
okay?"
right. But the way that he breaks down why he likes it, why the character is so intriguing. And like, I'm like, that's what you should do. But everybody else is telling him that he has to do sports something, sports
Mm,
management,
mhm,
sports medicine, like all of these different things. And I feel like he's good at other things. And he's good at other things in ways that we don't know how to translate into the real world. And I feel like a lot of kids are like that. And that should be fine. That should be okay for them to like figure out like how to make their strengths and talents fit the world as opposed to them trying to fit the world or just fit the world
yeah.
and see. I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
I think that has turned into what I don't wanna use the language like scares me the most because it's not scary, it's actually a really dope time for them, and I'm excited for them to be going through this. The part that selfishly is the most challenging is me not being a part of that discovery for him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
This is a running theme with
yeah, like I need to be like I need to help you. I need to, be a part. At least know. I need to know. I don't have to like guide or assist, but I think that that is what the challenge of parenting is at this stage. Like this stage of parenting, to me, I've been saying it for the past few years is the hardest by far stage of parenting for me. And it's because I know the impact of me being overbearing. I know what an overbearing situation looks like with a parent and a kid. And I know the outcomes of what that is. And so I'm constantly trying to not be overbearing. And that requires a sense of like letting a different kind of letting go, right? Like when we were at dropping him off this weekend, his mom, Danielle, was like doing what, stereotypically moms do. Oh, you want me to do this? Want me to make your bed? Da, da, da. And, and I could see his frustration level rising, right? And part of me is like, hey, you just gotta suck it up. Like, we're gonna help you. Like, we're gonna be here. We're gonna in this moment right here, we're gonna be a little overbearing. That's fine. But then part of me was like, let's go. Like, let's put his shit in the room and let's go. And that's what we did. We literally we unpacked. Dale made the bed or whatever, and then we went to Walmart. And we're like, all right, you take the next 2 or 3 hours to do whatever you need to do, whatever's important for you, and then we'll come back. But that was a short example of like what this process of parenting is. It's like we're gonna put you in a situation, hopefully it's gonna work out, but we're not gonna be there every day to see if it works out or not. You're just gonna have to figure it out. Like, and you have to, and people say that so passively, like, oh, they just have to figure it out. It's not that easy for them to do, and it's not that easy for us to let them figure it out, understanding that we have Black children. We have Black boy children. The world does not give them the time or space to figure shit out with the same leniency and understanding and care and support and love that they do for girls and white folks. They just don't. So, all of that is what's kind of like swirling through my mind all the time. Like, it's trippy. It's like a constant trip. Yeah, that's what it is.
How are you feeling about him being in DC with all the things that are going on in DC?
Um, I feel a little worried, but I also don't want to like lean into like the fear mongering as well. And as you know, like there's always something going on in DC, right? Like there's always, helicopters flying over, barricaded streets, protests, something with the weather. Like there's the metro broke down, a fire, shooting. Like there's always something in DC. It's any living in any city. So a part of the anxiety was just transitioning him from a beach community to a metropolitan, loosely, city. So that fear is definitely there. But the stuff with Trump and the presidency and the different agencies, it's something. It's definitely something. But I don't want to like fear monger, and I don't want to put that fear on him. We've just been telling him, the main thing that we've been telling him is make sure you always have your ID.
Mm,
Like that, like, when you're going out, I'm sure they're going to be at all the places that I used to go when I was a young person. They're going to be at Adams Morgan. They're going to be at DuPont Circle. They're going to be in U Street. Just be smart and have your ID. It's not Wilmington. That's what we've been saying all along. Like, this is not Wilmington, North Carolina. Like it, and that was before Trump, before Obama, after them. Like, it's different. So I feel a way about it, but honestly, that's not as much of my fear. All the stuff going on in DC. A fear that I have is just being in DC. Just being in DC in general, and all the things that come along with that.
yeah.
How are you feeling about Alawi being in the
I hate
sticks? Right, like in
it. It's
yeah.
not even really the sticks. It's a proper college town, and I grew up
Mm,
in a college town.
mm.
But we did count the blacks, and
Count the blacks.
there are there are three on the team. Wait, are there three including him,
There's
or three?
always three.
I feel like
Why
they
are there?
Right, we can't have too many, not too many.
3 is a good spot. Just let's leave it
Yeah,
at 3, right?
and there's an Aiden Braden, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, "Oh, your daddy's black." Like, you can just okay, or your grandfather at this point because he looked but there's some of that, but I think I told you, I was like, "As soon as you have time and you know where the BSU is, go.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
go." Because I this is where I'm that kind of parent, but I was, like, on TikTok, YCP black students trying to see and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of black students there, and they find each other. So, I just
they
hope
will.
that they I mean, the good part is that he's only been in black environments his entire life, from pre-K up. Like, he's only been around black people. So he doesn't feel uncomfortable around them. And I don't fear that he's gonna like get up there and just start whiling. Like not like now, like gotta sit him down and tell him he can't be MAGA. You know what I mean? Like I
Right,
don't
right.
fear that kind of a thing, but I do because he's so quiet and it takes him a minute to warm up and he'll just be comfortable with the people he's already comfortable with. I want him to be able to step out and find them. Um, yeah, just have a good experience on that level. And here's another reason that I'm not as like worked up and stressed as people are keep wanting me to be. He's not going to be there for long. He
Mm,
wants to leave in a
mm,
year or two. And
mhm, mhm,
so we're treating it like that. My one of angst was like, okay, I need him to like lock in with soccer because he's not gonna be it sounds terrible, but no one's gonna want him, I guess, in the portal if he doesn't show improve like
mhm.
on the team. But that's about it. I just don't see him being there for long. And even when we got there, he was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do what I need to do. I like the team, I like the coach, but I could have gone someplace else for the same kind of
Yeah.
like, I'd never even heard of Stevenson in, like, Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
We had never heard of that school before in my life,
Mm,
never heard of it. And he's like, "For this, I could have gone there, and it'd been closer to home," I don't know. And his high school coach said something to me that really, like, kinda not that it pissed me off, but it annoyed me in a very big way.
mhm,
Um 'Cause I was talking to him and he was like, yeah, he was talking to like the new team. They got all these new kids coming in, 8th graders that went to the school because Alawi went there. Like, he's got a name and da 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 da. And he says that part of his like motivational talk preseason was you guys have to work really hard because would you ever think that Alawi would only go deep?
wow.
I was
Wow.
like,
That's a
you
really
said that
shitty
to them?
statement, yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah," he's like, and the way that they did it, he's like, "Oh, they're all the kids this year are probably going to go DT2 and up, like, that's just the way it is."
Mhm,
And basically, he's basically said that, like, the school has more eyes on them because of Olawe.
mhm,
And the people who weren't looking at the school to get him D1, D2 last year see him go D3 and like, oh, we got to lock in and focus on the MAC kids. And I'm
mm,
like, why would you say that to me? Number one. And I hope to God you're not saying that to Alawe as like a
mhm.
motivation. But
Yeah,
like, I did not like that at all. I did not like
yeah.
it at all.
I don't like that at all. And I think no shade to him or the coach or the staff, but like that's just a very very extremely outdated way to look at college recruitment. Like I told you, like if not for my main job right now would be helping kids and families through this recruitment process because it is a monster, and that kind of mentality that coach shared was probably true 8 years ago, maybe, when Division I colleges were mostly recruiting kids from high school, and they're not. D1 colleges, especially the big names, they are not recruiting kids from high school to play. They're recruiting kids from high school on potential to play.
Mm.
And they're the number one recruiting option is transfers and internationals are because there's the sport I mean the sport of soccer it's not just size. For basketball and football, yes, what he
Yeah.
says, that mentality still kind of stays the same. If you're big and strong, if you're faster and taller than everybody, you're going to go D1 in basketball. If you're big, fast, and can lift a lot of weights, you're going to go D1 in football if, if you have everything else. But in soccer, it's just so many non-tangible things. Few of them have to do with how good of a player you are. So, I mean, the best thing that happened to Ellington last year was being redshirted. I'm so glad he got redshirted and that they didn't give him like some pity minutes and then he would have lost a year of eligibility. But if his route is to, return to D1 or go D1 or whatever, he will and Alawe will be able to do it if they want to, without a doubt. Like if you have experience playing in the college level NCAA and you have good film, and you're good, you can transfer to most D1 colleges. But I think, and what I learned this year through Ellington is that it might not be their desire anymore. Once they really see all behind the bells and whistles, behind the smoke and mirrors, behind the social media posts, what it is, it's not as mystical
Mm.
to them. And they're like, oh, it's going to be the same over there. Oh, I'll just stay here where I could play for sure. And it's not as much, it's not as much around it. There's not as, the NIL stuff. So I don't know. I think that if Ellington wants to go D1, we'll support it. But I don't see that as a must have unless he wants to play professionally.
Mm-mm.
If he wants to play professionally, then even still, Division 1 is not the only route. There's just so many other routes now. But yeah, that I don't like that coach that he said that.
I didn't like it either.
Well, we're about at an hour. We know what we didn't talk about that I wanted to, and I don't know if we haven't texted about this.
Drake,
You're who? No,
Drake.
I'm not doing it anymore. I can't. I broke up with him. I'm not gonna continue to check my DMs for him or like expect a text. No, like we broke up. I can't care until he releases an album. When he releases an album, then we can talk about it. But I'm not doing it. I don't know. I can't. But your girl, Amanda, have you seen this?
Fines? No.
What?
Sorry.
Not the Amanda I was
Listen how much
thinking.
I don't think of her. What did she do? I don't know what she did.
You didn't see it?
No, I don't think
What?
so.
Oh my God. I thought you'd be all over this. I was actually surprised that you didn't send this to me. But maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, about a month ago, there's a popular journalist. I can't remember his name. I want to say he's of Middle Eastern descent or of Asian descent of some sort.
What?
Popular pundit on like CNN and things. But he went on a social media platform. I can't think of the name of it. And it was like him versus 20
Oh,
ultra conservative.
Hassan. Okay, yeah, yeah, on
Him.
TV. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Amanda Seales did the same thing this week.
Oh God.
And it's her versus 20 black MAGA conservatives.
God.
And it is the most fascinating thing I've seen in a long time. It's exactly what you think it is, but she did a really, really good job. And I can't even hate on her as much as I want to. There were things about her, how she engages that I will never like. But in terms of her talking points and just how like that's her bag. Like her bag, like, oh, did I lose you? Damn
I
it,
know. Frozen.
Marcy. I'm gonna fight you. I'm stopping it. Well, folks, I don't know what happened. This is just Mike here. Bassey must have the internet from 1980. I'm not sure. But anyway, we had a great conversation. I don't know what I was about to say when she went offline, but just keep finding the truth in the chaos, the clarity in the culture, and the joy in the journey. And we'll see y'all next week. All right, peace.